We decided today to lower the target for the federal funds rate by 1/4 percentage point to a range of 2% to 2.25%. The outlook for the U.S. economy remains favorable, and this action is designed to support that outlook. It is intended to ensure against downside risks from weak global growth and trade policy uncertainty. We're thinking of it as essentially in the nature of a mid-cycle adjustment to policy.
Well, that's the Fed chair explaining in a news conference, as they do, the effort to drop down interest rates. It's the first time in more than a decade. And if you look at the chart, you can see where the little dip happened today. The market, though, when that announcement was made and how it was made, did not like what they saw. Take a look when that announcement was made with the Dow today, the other indices taking a hit as well. And the president didn't like it either. What the market wanted to hear from Jay Powell and the Federal Reserve was that this was the beginning of a lengthy and aggressive rate-cutting cycle, which would keep pace with China, the European Union, and other countries around the world. As usual, Powell let us down, but at least he's ending quantitative tightening, which shouldn't have started in the first place. No inflation. We are winning anyway, but I'm certainly not getting much help from the Federal Reserve. Back with the panel. Jonathan, this president, more than any other, has attacked the Federal Reserve and the chair specifically.
Not only that, but he's had a number of conversations with colleagues, including the White House counsel, about whether he has the authority to either fire Jerome Powell or demote him. He's been told that he can't do that without cause. So there's been a whole lot of conversations behind the scenes. Late last year, the president, according to two sources with direct knowledge, privately entertained the idea of replacing Powell with Kevin Warsh, who was one of the people that he was considering originally for the Fed chair job. So to say he's been deeply unhappy would be a gross understatement. He has described Powell as the greatest threat to the economy and to his presidency in some respects. So it's much bigger than anything we've seen before.
Britt, he was asked today, Powell was, about the president's comments, and he said that we never take into account political considerations. Your thoughts on this battle and where the Fed stands?
Well, look, this is the reaction I think that we could have expected from the markets on this. The markets always want lower interest rates, almost in every circumstance. And Powell's expression of general confidence in the future path of the economy did not seem to help. Although, just as an individual, I thought it was reassuring. After all, there are headwinds, as Powell mentioned, around the world with slowing economic growth in a number of places, and headwinds from trade fights that we all know about. So, this little tiny 1/4 percentage point cut, Brett, probably won't have much immediate practical effect. It's just too small. The question is, will it be followed up with further cuts, which is obviously what the administration wants, and administrations nearly always seem to want. I think it's important that the Fed maintain its independence, and I don't have any reason to believe that Powell here was simply trying to placate the president. My sense about him is that he and the Fed will go their own way, as they should.
Here is the Fed chair on trade tensions impacting the economy.
We also feel like weak global growth and trade tensions are having an effect on the U.S. economy. You see it now in the second quarter. You see weak investment. You see weak manufacturing.
So there were some messages there, Leslie, that were not great messages. But you look at the polls, our recent poll, the president on the economy, he stands at 52% approval. You look at the economic changes since he took office. The only one that has changed is the real GDP growth, which is down. But obviously the unemployment rate, the consumer confidence up, hourly earnings up, and overall a strong economy.
Overall a strong economy, but I think a lot of people were concerned when they saw this happen, because normally when do you lower interest rates? When the economy is in dire straits. And people go, wait a minute, we have a strong economy. Now obviously this is to counteract any negative repercussions from trade and tariffs. But I think people looking forward, hear some economists out there talking about things like economic slowdown, perhaps a recession. Elizabeth Warren would be right if that happens. And I think people question, is the economy as strong as the president and others are saying that it is when you see this happen?
Jonah.
Yeah, I think first of all, it's important to remember that our markets are addicted to low interest rates, and this is a long-term serious problem that we're going to have to address. Interest rates are basically just another form of government spending through the back door. I think it's not surprising at all that we didn't see a huge boost from the cut today, because we saw a huge boost when Powell all but declared through a bullhorn that this cut was coming. What spooked the markets today was that they thought this was going to be the first of a bunch of cuts, and I think this is where you get the problem of the president jawboning the Fed, is that whatever Powell does, it will seem as if he is reacting to political pressures rather than the underlying economic variables, and that's a real problem.
Brett, make no mistake about it. I mean, as we look out to this upcoming election, we can devise all kinds of scenarios about how the Democrats might win or how Trump might win. It's pretty hard to envision a scenario where we have a real economic slowdown that people notice, believe is happening, and are feeling, in which the president wins. So obviously that's on his mind as he looks out ahead. And the one thing I think he feels would almost certainly help to stave that off would be a significant drop in interest rates.
Jonathan, at the same time, we still have the impact of this repatriation of dollars from overseas that really hasn't hit fully. There are some things to come, and should he get a couple of trade deals across the finish line, it changes the entire dynamic.
Right, you could envisage, for example, a China deal, late this year or early next year that could have, attached to it could be any number of major purchases, including major agricultural purchases. So yes, you could see things like that. You could see the USMCA deal potentially get approved. So there are things there. All of them have great challenges, so it's not like any of these givens, but yes, there are certain things that the president hopes will happen to stimulate the economy leading into the election.
All right, panel, thank you very much.